Hey everyone, welcome back to John's Watch. Today I'm going to be taking a look at a new game called Octopath Traveler 0. This game was released on December 4th, 2025. Its regular price is $66.99 Canadian, or your regional equivalent, and it's developed by Square Enix and Doki Doki Grooveworks, and published by Square Enix, and I just want to say thank you very much to Square Enix for sending me a review code for this game. This is sort of the latest entry in the Octopath Traveler series. The previous games are Octopath Traveler and Octopath Traveler 2. Confusingly, this is not a prequel to either of those. This is actually a more full-fledged version of a mobile game called Octopath Traveler Champion of the Continent, which is a free-to-play gacha mobile game. And when this game was announced, I was like, oh, okay, Octopath Traveler 0, sort of like a prequel, it's gotta be. I didn't love the first two games, but they're always fun to play for a bit. And then, instantly I was like, oh, it's just a port of a mobile game. Whoopee. Obviously, this game, this Octopath Traveler 0, doesn't have any of the, microtransactions or anything like that, but you can tell sometimes that it is based off a mobile game. If you don't know what Octopath Traveler is, somehow it was the first HD 2D game that came out, which is an art style I absolutely love, and it's then been used in other Square Enix games like Live Alive and the Dragon Quest 1-3 remakes. Turn-based, party-based JRPGs, and the key thing for the first two Octopath Traveler games was, as the name alludes to or implies, you had a cast of 8 different characters, and you would play chapter 1 of one character, and then move on to chapter 1 of another character. You would do this 8 times, and then you would come back to chapter 2 of the first character you played, chapter 2 of another character, and you would experience these 8 different stories that would occasionally maybe kind of brush against each other, but for the most part they're quite separate. Strangely, this game does away with that. Something very different that Zero does is, right at the start of the game, you actually make your own character. And whenever I play games like this, I always quite like making my own character and just playing as that one character. You get to customize your character a little bit, you get to name them, change your hairstyle, your gender. And in the prologue, you start off in this small little town, village called Wishvale. It's very, very charming, absolutely lovely there. And in the prologue, towards the end of the prologue, it gets attacked and burned down and just absolutely destroyed. And then the next thing that this game does that's very unique is you get to set about rebuilding the town of Wishvale. You get to track down a couple of people who escaped from the attack, who survived and left the town. You get to recruit them back to your village. The main one is Stia. She is the carpenter, and she is essential for building in the town, as you'd expect from a carpenter. When you recruit her, you're able to then start building buildings in the town, like you build a workshop for her. You can then build houses where you can recruit other story characters as well as just other people you find on your way in the world. And I actually really liked the town building aspect of this. I think that's quite a fun mechanic. The way you'd build buildings is when you went out into levels, you would see sparkles on the ground, and you'd also have an exclamation mark on your minimap. If you go up to it, if it's a log or something, you'd go up to it, you could get 3 lumber. And you'd need certain amounts of lumber and stone and things like that in order to build houses and the other buildings. And whenever you get back to Wishvale, you have this progression marker tip thing on your HUD in the top right. And it basically tells you things you have to do in order to start leveling up your village, in order to have more room to build in it, to invite more people to it. That could be things like just building 2 houses, or it could be things like progressing certain quests, and it tells you which quests to do. So yeah, I really liked making my own character and rebuilding this town. I thought that was really, really fun. Pretty much right after the prologue, you're introduced to the first 3 main quests of the game, which is there's 3 powerful individuals and you have to go deal with them, basically. And you can choose like which one you want to go after first. It's like, oh, what do you most desire? Do you desire power, wealth, or whatever the other one was? But you can really do these 3 quests in whichever order you want. I just went with the power one because I made my guy a knight. I wanted him to be super powerful. And then all 3 of these quests pop up in your quest tab, and so yeah, you could literally drop the one you chose instantly if you'd rather. Each quest will tell you what the suggested level is. So for like all of these, like all the chapter 1 quests, after the prologue, I think like the recommended level was like, it was either 1 or 6. And by this point, I think I was like level 5, like I was close enough to be able to do them after the prologue. And similar to the first 2 games, once you finish chapter 1 of one of these quests, your quest marker will then tell you, oh, chapter 2 is available, but you should be level 10 for it, so you probably want to go do chapter 1 of a different quest. And the quests for this game, the main story at least, are really, really depressing. I saw one of the reviews said that this game is essentially just misery porn, and it kind of is. Like, all the dialogue is just really depressing. There's a little bit of levity and humor here and there. I'd say that in quotations, because it's not great. But yeah, like all like the main cutscenes and everything, they're just depressing, people are dying left and right, people are being sold into slavery and human trafficking. It's pretty dark. And I remember that there were some stories in the first 2 games that were dark-ish. They were a bit depressing. And then there were some, I think there was one quest in particular, I think it was like the dancer or something from either 1 or 2. And her questline was just like so over the top positive that it was like sickening. And it just felt like there were no consequences or anything to that, so I really disliked that quest. But at least it was a break from some of the darker quests. And looking at some of the reviews for this game, there's no break from the darkness and the depression of this game. So interesting choice to make it just really, really depressing. Combat works the same as the other 2 games. If you're not familiar with it, each of your characters comes equipped with 2 weapon types. So when I made my character, I made him a warrior, so he had a sword, and I mean the icon's a spear, but I think it calls it a polearm in game. Stia, the carpenter, she has a dagger and an axe, and all the enemies you encounter in the world will have a certain number of weaknesses. I think like the least number of weaknesses I've seen is like 2 or 3, but it can go up to at least 6, I think. And the first time you encounter an enemy, you'll see a bunch of question marks underneath them, and you basically have to attack with your different weapon types to see what they're weak to. So if you attack an enemy that's weak to a sword with a sword, you'll then get a little sword icon underneath them, so you'll know for future encounters, I fought this one before, they're weak to a sword. What this means is every enemy also has a shield with a number in it next to their name, and they've got this block going on that you have to break in order to stun them and do more damage. So let's say an enemy's got a 4 next to them, they've got 4 shield. That just means you need to hit them with 4 attacks that they're weak to, and then that'll break their shield, it'll stun them for a turn, and they'll also just take more damage. Each turn in combat you get 1 BP, and you can use this BP to do multiple basic attacks in one turn. So let's say you've got 2 BP, you can choose to use both of those, and you'll then do 3 sword attacks if you're just using your basic attack. So if an enemy's just got 3 shield points, and you can use 2 BP to do 3 sword attacks, you can break their shield in one go. And it's a really clever mechanic. I think the combat is very good in the whole Octopath Traveler series. It's quite unique, I think. It's not seen really in other JRPGs, but yeah, the combat is still the same as the first 2 games and still very, very good. I guess another difference in this one is that in combat you can control 4 party members, but you can actually have up to 8 party members in your party. You've got 4 in the front row and 4 in the back row. And so what you can do is you can fill out your party with 8 different people, 8 different classes ideally, with all different kinds of attack types. And so if you get into combat and you're like, oh no, all 4 people in my front row don't have anything that the enemy's weak to, you can then swap them around and, move the back row to the front row and vice versa, and then hopefully you've got the weaknesses covered by that point. The way you fill your party is by recruiting storyline companions, the main ones like Stia and other people from the village. But you can also go into other towns and you can use your path actions, which is where if you walk up to an NPC, you'll see certain icons above their head, and if you press X on a controller, you're able to do extra actions instead of just talking to them. One of these is you can entreat them, where you can just ask them for items, which is very helpful. There's always a percentage chance of whether you're going to succeed or fail with your path actions. And a lot of times you can find people who have like 100% chance of giving you like 2 healing items or something. So I always just go grab those. But one of the new path actions is you can invite people. You usually have to discuss with them first and find out what they want in order to be invited. Sometimes they just want like a cooked item or something, and I managed to invite a couple of people to my town. And I believe that's where like the gacha element of the mobile game comes from. It's the random kind of no-name people you can invite to your town. I didn't really get that far in it in order to like really engage with the gacha or not gacha system that's in this game. At the time of recording, I've played 8 hours, and that's all I'm gonna play. Octopath Traveler is a weird series for me. I never finished 1. I think I stopped after all the chapter 1s because there was such a big difficulty increase in chapter 2. Octopath Traveler 2, I pushed myself to finish it, and I do remember thinking after I finished it, yeah, I probably should have stopped about halfway through because I wasn't having fun for the last half. This one, yeah, I've stopped after 8 hours. Again, probably wasn't really having fun after the first 6 hours or so. It started off really fun, making my character, building my village, but quickly got pretty tiring. The writing is long, I guess. There's a ton of dialogue. None of it's particularly interesting. And towards the end of the 8 hours, I was just noticing it more and more. There would be, there could be tons of characters on screen, like up to like 6 people all discussing. And they would just, go round in circles like, do you think we should do this thing? I think we should do this thing. I agree we should do this thing. What about you, character 4? Do you think we should do this thing? I, character 4, say we should do this thing. And by the end, I was just skipping it, and like I knew I wasn't missing anything important because the dialogue and story was just pretty meh. For the first 3 hours, I played this on Steam Deck, so if you've noticed kind of the quality of the footage changing a bit between clip to clip, that's because the first 3 hours I played on Steam Deck, recorded it on Steam Deck, and I do remember I played all of Octopath Traveler 2 on my Steam Deck, ran no problem. Zero runs really well on my Steam Deck, but it is actually surprisingly one of the most battery-hungry games I've played on my Steam Deck. And I went right from playing the HD 2D remake of Dragon Quest 1 and 2 on my Steam Deck, where I would get 3 to 4 hours of battery life, to this, where I would be lucky if I was getting 2 hours of battery on Octopath Traveler 0, and my Steam Deck felt very, very warm playing this game, and turn-based JRPG I think is perfect for the Steam Deck. This is the kind of game I do play on my Steam Deck all the time. And the battery life was just so bad, and it was just getting so warm that I was like, okay, I actually gotta play this on my computer, because otherwise I'm gonna like burn my hands off. On Dragon Quest 1 and 2, changing the graphics preset from high to medium had a noticeable improvement. I think I got like 20% extra battery from doing that. Even changing the graphics from high to lowest on Octopath Traveler 0 didn't make any difference whatsoever. Still felt hot, still kept the exact same battery drain rate. I don't know why, I guess it's just really not optimized that well for Steam Deck. I think it is actually verified for Steam Deck. It is verified on Steam Deck. And like I said, it runs really well. It runs at 60 FPS, no problem. But maybe that is the problem. Maybe it's running too well for the Steam Deck. I think in hindsight, I probably could have capped the frame rate to 45, 40, and got a lot more battery life out of it. But yeah, I ended up just switching over to play it on PC for the last 5 hours of it. So those are my thoughts on Octopath Traveler 0. You know, like I said, it's a series that should appeal to me, but I never really enjoy it that much, and I have played every entry in the series. I don't think it's unfair to say that this is easily the worst entry out of the 3. I mean, you know, it comes from a mobile game. It's never going to be as good as the first 2. If you haven't played them, start with the first one. I mean, the second one's definitely better. You could probably just start with the second one, honestly, but don't start with 0. I will say, I think the graphics do look worse in this game. Like, the character sprites look fantastic, and most of the environments look good, but there's definitely, like, there's just some textures or models that are, like, super, super low res. Obviously, like, everything's a little bit pixely because that's the art style. But it is just quite noticeable, you know, sometimes you'll find a scene where everything looks fine, but maybe like this bucket looks super, super low res for some reason. So yeah, if you're desperate for more Octopath Traveler, you might like this one. You know, if you've finished 1 and 2, you might like this one. If you haven't played them and you're interested, probably just play 2, maybe 1, but I think 2 is better. But yeah, this one's really only for die-hard Octopath Traveler fans, I think. It's really not great, and it's pretty telling that I stopped after 8 hours because I just wasn't enjoying it at all. There you go, that was Octopath Traveler 0. Thank you guys very much for watching. Make sure you leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys later. Bye!